All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Global Reality right here on the Global Reality Radio Network. I'm your host, Josh Reeves. This is the Monday, November 21st, 2016 edition of the broadcast. Thanks to everybody out there here for being with us. We've got some assorted news items and whatnot to discuss with you on the broadcast here today, as well as some stuff from the audience that's come in that I'd like to talk about, like when we get questions and whatnot from the listeners out there. So if you have questions, you have stuff you'd like to hear me talk about on the show, whatnot, that you'd like to send for my consideration, you can email me, globalrealityshow@gmail.com. That's globalrealityshow@gmail.com. So always email me and send stuff over there that you'd like me to review and possibly talk about on the show. I'd love to do that. So I've got a couple of things that will fall under that category today on the broadcast. And then we'll have news and some other stuff here. So thanks to everybody out there. TheGlobalReality.com is my website. That's TheGlobalReality.com. Everything pertaining to the work that I do here can be found up there, from all the documentary films and shows and whatnot. I have to apologize. I never bring this up. My website, well, it sucks, and I apologize for that. If there's anything I could do about it, I would do it. I would do it. It needs to be updated. There's stuff. I mean, there's these shows up there. I mean, it's not my webmaster's fault, but I mean, he's volunteer. Doesn't get paid to do anything, so he doesn't have any kind of motivation to do anything on the website at all. So I hope to have that. It's on my to-do list, and I hope to have that fixed and updated and something over the next year. I'm going to be working on that, but for right now, it sucks, and I apologize. And I'm aware that it sucks. It's not it's not one of those things where I'm not aware of it. I'm fully aware. I'm fully aware. I know that could be. Sometimes you'll see websites. I do the same thing. I see some websites. Sometimes I'm like, do they know this website sucks ass? In my case, I do. A lot of people, they don't. In my case, I'm fully aware. But I can handle pretty much everything else there is when it comes to all this stuff. Running websites and building websites and running all that. It's not my thing. So I really, it really requires somebody that's willing to, spend a few days a week working on it. And I don't have anybody, I can't afford to pay anybody to do it. So the guy who's done it for me for years and years, it's just a voluntary basis. And the only thing he really does for me anymore is just, put up banners and stuff, change out old ones. And that's really all I ask him to do anymore. But anyway, there's tons of stuff on there that needs to be updated. But you can find all the downloads. I know people are having problems finding the download shop, but in the middle of the page there at the website, it says download all Josh Reeves' films here, blah, blah, blah. You click that and it'll take you to the download shop. So it seems pretty simple to me, but some people have had problems. Not some people, a lot of people. So I'm having to bring it up. If it was a couple of people, I wouldn't even bring it up. I'm talking about a lot of people. Hundreds of people. I can't find your download shop at your website. It's confusing me. Big old bold fucking. You ever see that movie? Remember that old movie Clerks? Kevin Smith. You guys got movies here? There's a big fucking flashing sign with an arrow pointing movies. And guys, you guys got movies here? What do you mean there's no ice? You mean they got to drink this coffee hot? Anyway, that's where it is, and that's where you can find all kinds of stuff in there. All my documentary films are in there, starting with my first one, 9/11 New World Rising, which came out in 2007. The Secret Right Volume 1, 2009. 2011's Secret Right Volume 2. Then Lost Secrets of Ancient America Volume 1, Volume 2. And now my newest one the Spellcasters Volume 1, as well as a whole bunch of audiobooks. There's a Manly P. Hall, great Manly P. Hall 3-pack audiobook of me reading Manly P. Hall in there. There's several of the Zachariah Sitchin works I've done in there. There's tons of great audiobooks as well as my films, so definitely take the time to go and check out the audiobook and look through there. And there's a lot of stuff in there that makes great gifts. You could, if you're thinking about giving the gift of information for the holiday season, there's lots of stuff you can get in there that would make great gifts for people. So definitely go and check out our download shop and all the stuff on our website. You can subscribe to our archives there, get yourself a membership to the show so you can stay current with all the shows as they come out, and also support our work by using the donate button, which if you want to use a credit card or debit card, you can use the donate button on my website to make a contribution. You can also, if you want to just have like a monthly amount that comes out like a regular monthly donation, so you don't have to come back every month to donate, we have that option too at our website. And I'm going to be appearing this Wednesday. I'm not sure when the show will air, but because everybody's different. Some people record shows and then they're up instantaneously or up soon. Others have a week, 2 weeks, So I'm not really sure, but this coming Wednesday, so day after tomorrow, I'm going to be appearing on the Richie from Boston show with Richie from Boston. And Richie, I guess, is... I'm not sure if he's recently found my work or recently rediscovered my work, or, but anyway, I think he was on Freeman's show after me. So he got the Spellcasters and watched it and gets it and just is really all about it and excited about it and wants to help promote it. And that's just fantastic. It's always, I don't really care if somebody, doesn't agree or is on a different wavelength as me as far as research information. That stuff doesn't really bother me at all. All I ask is that people, if I'm going to go on somebody's show, is that they give it a fair shake and at least watch the movie. That's all I ask, But again, I wouldn't have to say this if it hadn't happened to me. I can't tell you how many times I've done radio interviews where they didn't even watch the movie. I sent them free copies and stuff. And then, it's very difficult to do like a 2-hour interview or something, and some of these were like national radio shows. They weren't just like podcasts, and where the host is just completely unprepared and not even familiar. It makes it very difficult, to talk about. So, Richie from Boston contacted me and he's watched the film and, is on board with what we're doing here. So that's fantastic. And some of his listeners and audience have already come over and checked us out and let us know that they're already here listening before I've even gone on his show. How great is that? That doesn't happen. When does that happen? That doesn't happen ever from what I've experienced. I've been on air for almost 10 years now, so I've been researching for 25 years. So that's awesome. So hopefully we'll be able to get this information and a lot of the information that I talk about here out to a new audience. And as I said, it seems that we already are. So if you've come over from the Richie from Boston show already, well, welcome and thank you so much for being here. Which leads me to what I want to start the show out with today. I'm gonna discuss a couple of listener comments, inquiries, that kind of thing, and then we'll jump into the news after that. And I did catch myself doing it there a couple of times, so it made me remember one of these questions. And I have already actually answered this question for this person in the comments of one of my YouTube videos, but I wanted to do it again because I've done it in past shows, but we get new listeners in all the time, and people really don't know what, everybody's vibe is different. And what we have here is completely different, and what I do here is completely different, I think, than how everybody else is doing it. But unless you know that, you wouldn't know that. But everything I do here is funded 100% by people who believe in me and the work that I do and the research that I do and how long I've been doing it, what I've presented already, and how right I've been about so many things. Unfortunately, I really wish I wasn't. I wish I was totally wrong about this stuff 100% of the time. Unfortunately, it's not the case. And so that's why I have to continue. And so every person who contributes to my work does so because they know that this is the real deal. I mean, we barely scrape by every month and barely survive to do this, but we have made it now for over 9 years here, and it's been 100% to the credit of our audience that's kept us here. That's, I mean, beyond any shadow of a doubt. So, and some people have asked me this before, and I've got no problem addressing it again, but this person said, great show, but what's with all the we and our? I thought you were, in your own words, a one-man show. I just find this particular part oddly confusing is all. Well, and that goes right back to what I was just saying. That's how I view it. And that's how I consider it here. I am a one-man show 100%. But every single person that contributes, and we have had people who've been contributing money every month for years, and people drop off and people don't for a while, and then they come back and they do again. But, that's really the main thing. We just need more people that are contributing, so that the people who contribute for a lot and have for a long time have help. So that's why I say help us reach our goal, or, support our work, because every person that contributes in a small way is part of that work. Once you are a part of enabling me to be able to make a movie or do a radio show or any of the stuff that we do here and put it out, it's as much yours as it is mine at that point. I'm the one doing the work and the rest of it, but you're the one that's making it possible. So when I say help us, support our work and help our work continue, I'm talking about not only me, but, the people out there whose faces you're not seeing on the screen, whose voice you're not hearing coming through the microphone, that you don't know, that, contributed $100, $1,000, $500, whatever it may be. And, they can't do it all. And, you may not even know their story or what they had to sacrifice to support my work and that kind of thing. So that's when I truly mean that. When I say support our work, I'm speaking on behalf of not just myself, but all of those people and every single person that has contributed, does contribute. And the moment that you do contribute to my work and you help us be able to get, through to another month and get our operating costs paid or get a film budget achieved, you are part of that. And that's why I like to put, for the last film, and we'll do that, of course, here for Volume 2, everybody that contributes $100 to Volume 2 of the Spellcasters will get their name in the special thanks, or, a name you choose. If you don't want your real name, you want a fake name in there, you can do that. But anyway, that's really the answer to that question, and I want everybody out there to know that I'm not able to do one-on-one convos. Every single person out there, I tell you, that's what I should do. I should go around like a little Pope confessional booth thing set up, and people just come in and ask me info questions, and pay by the person, whatever. Because I get so many, I have no time to respond to every single person every day that wants a piece of my time and wants me to do one-on-one convos with them so they can data mine me. I'm appreciative of it. It wouldn't be happening if I didn't know my shit. That's the bottom line. But the one way that you can be a part of what I do and really make a difference beyond any conversation that you and I could ever have or anything else is to make a contribution and become a part of the the quote unquote team, really. Because everybody that supports my work in any way, shape, or form by buying movies or downloads or making donations and stuff, they become part of the team. And you don't have to have your name on a list. You don't have to be known to do it. Nobody even has, you won't even know who else is on the team with you. And that's the way that, I just think that's the way that truth, change, and true things are going to happen because, movements and leaders and cults and whatever, cult of personality, things. I just, those are the things that have gotten us into the problems that we're in our day and age. So I tend to shy away from anything that could at any point go towards some sort of, this being some kind of cult of personality broadcast thing that's all about me, and Josh Reeves, because it's not about me. I'm the least important link in the chain as far as this goes, because it really is about the information. It's about my own personal quest for knowledge and information, and hopefully along that quest and my journey and the things that I have found out that have been mind-blowing, I can share new things with you. But those new things don't happen, and the new frontiers don't get crossed if we don't have financial capital to operate month to month and all the rest of it. And that's really where the power of our audience comes into play, because all the great things that we've ever been able to do with all these films and all the work that we've done has only been possible because of the audience. And if we don't have that, then we don't have the work. And that's why when you see lesser output from me, that's what that means. When you start to see my output diminish and I'm outputting less stuff, that means that we're not doing well, is what it means. Because when we're doing well and we're getting support and stuff we need, I'm able to crank stuff out and stuff gets done. But when I have to start, figuring out other means and methods in order just to keep the lights on every month, that severely limits the output we're able to have. And that certainly has been the case for quite some time here. So there you go. Another question that we had from one of our listeners. I think this was on and had to do with the video that I made recently about the Standing Rock Giants cover up. Someone had asked me if I had heard this and what I thought about the story of the Giant of Kandahar. Well, first off, that information comes from a gentleman by the name of L.A. Marzulli. And L.A. Marzulli actually, in one of his film series, actually had a part in there on the rock wall. Point blank, I don't like the guy. Never liked the guy. He's suspect beyond words. I mean, I don't know, CIA, whatever. I have no idea. I don't even bother to speculate because honestly, I don't care. He's not a blip on the radar to me personally, but I don't trust the guy, and the fact that Coast to Coast AM just loves him doesn't make me trust him much either. But he's essentially, here's why I don't trust him. Anybody that has a premise or basically a conclusion that they're working backwards from, you just can't trust, because you're never going to get to the real truth if you're working backwards from a conclusion that you've already set in stone. And he's one of these Christian guys who's set in stone conclusion is that, these ancient things like the rock wall or giants or anything else, all has to do with the Nephilim, and it's all about biblical prophecy and all the rest of this, and it just reeks of it. Just reeks. Let's just leave it at that. So this giant of Kandahar information did come from this L.A. Marzulli character. So that immediately had me take it with an absolute grain of salt. But also, again, remember, he did feature stuff about the rock wall, even though his conclusion may be working from one that's already been pre-decided and working backwards from that. He wasn't trying to debunk it, and he wasn't trying to downplay it. So, again, very, very murky water sometimes when it comes to some of these people, because, at least for me, I mean, I'm sure it probably is that same way for you out there too, but very murky waters when it comes to some of these people sometimes, because, on the one hand, yeah, a lot of these guys do have stuff that is factual and lines up, and then, other stuff, again, is trying to work backwards from proving that premise, and they're at the end of the day, the only thing they ever tell you about these things is, well, that just proves the Nephilim are real. Well, I mean, you didn't need that. Anyway, so whether I can attest to the legitimacy of this Giant of Kandahar story, you can look this up. I'll highlight it here for you. Essentially, U.S. troops in Afghanistan killed this giant guy. Anyway, you can look it up and hear the story, hear the guy tell the story. When I first heard about it, again, because of the source, I was automatically skeptical. But once I watched the video myself and heard this story, I don't know that I've ever told this on here before. I used to work with a guy who it was just very strange. This guy, I think I may have talked about this a little bit before. He had told me he was going into the military. I worked with him at this pizza place I worked at, and he told me he was going to I was telling him about all this stuff, I worked with him. He was only like 18-year-old kid or something at the time. And he was a Mormon, and I was telling him about Freemasonry and stuff, and it was blowing his mind, because all the stuff that I was telling him about Freemasonry was lining up exactly with stuff that he knew about Mormonism. And he started telling me about the baptisms of the dead, and I started showing how the degrees, of Freemasonry are the same, the degrees in the church, and it totally just blew his mind. And he was like, he told me he was going to go into the military, and he said, I'm you know what I'm going to do, Josh? I'm going to join the Freemasons. I'm going to find out what they know, and I'm going to come back one day, and I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you, and, I didn't think much of it. I just kind of laughed it off and just was like, hey, okay, yeah, whatever. And funny thing was, I worked at this pizza place. I worked there for like fucking 5 years. I worked there for almost 5 years. I worked there forever, and I remember, he was off, and I didn't even think about this dude. And this may have even been 4 years later. I think it may have been like 2005, I think it was around the time when 2005, 2006, when he first told me, I'm going to go find this stuff out, when he left the Army or whatever. And then 2009, I'm just kind of I'm standing back there making pizzas one day, and I hear somebody just walk in. I hear somebody go, Josh Reeves. And I turn around, and it's him, and he looks totally, he's, ripped, and he's been over the shit. And he was like, remember I told you I was going to find some shit for you? And he hadn't been in the Freemasons, but he had, been over in Afghanistan and been over, Iraq. And I was shocked. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh my God, and he had some stories for me for sure. And I hadn't thought about this since then. I hadn't thought about it in a while. until I watched the Giants of Kandahar thing, because it ties into this with what this guy told me. Because he told me some crazy shit. And I at the time had, I was aware of like the whole super soldier thing, and that I was aware they were being used over there. So I asked this guy, I said, hey man, did you ever see any of the big boys over there while you were over there? Thinking that he would know what I was talking about when I said big boys, because I was referring to, super soldiers, technically engineered, big super soldiers, essentially. Because, the rumors of those being used have gone back to the original Gulf War and all that stuff. And I just naively assumed that he would know exactly what I was talking about. But he thought I was talking about something completely different. He didn't think I was talking about super soldiers. And I didn't get this until after I heard about this Giant of Kandahar information. And when I said, hey, did you ever see any of the big boys over there? He turned his head around and he goes, how do you know about the big boys? I go, come on, man. A lot of people know about the big boys, meaning super soldiers. That's what I was meaning. It's been out there. That stuff had been out, and that speculation had been out there for a long time. And I was like, a lot of people know about the big boys. He goes, no, they don't. No, a lot of people don't know about. How do you know about the big boys? And, it was a workplace. So, something happened. We got separated, couldn't talk for a minute. Come back, and so we get a break again. And I'm like, so, did you see the big boys over there or not? And he was like, oh, yeah. He's like, yeah, I killed a couple of them. I was like, I was confused because I'm thinking super soldier. I'm thinking like American troops. And immediately when he said that, I was immediately, my brain was like, huh? I was like, you killed a couple of them? I was like, why would you kill your own troop? He's like, oh, those weren't ours. He goes, those big boys aren't ours. I don't know. We don't know whose those are. I was like, then I was really confused. Like, well, is this some other force have big boys or, whatever? He's like, yeah, I killed a couple of them, 8 to 10 footers. That's exactly what he said. I should have said that first. He said, yeah, I killed a couple of them. He said 8 to 10 footers. That was what he said, 8 to 10. And I think they say something like 8 to 10 feet when they're talking of this Giant of Kandahar thing. And he was like, oh, yeah, I killed a couple of them. He took everything we had to get them down, too. And then we got separated and we didn't talk about it and never talked about it with him again. But I tell you what, now that I'm looking back at it, that's why he was totally talking about he killed a couple mean giants. He was exactly in that exact area where he was in Kandahar. He told me for a fact he was there. This probably would have been something like 2 or 3 years. Yeah, probably something like 2 or 3 years after when the Giant of Kandahar thing happened. So maybe they found that was the first one they found, and they found more after that. I don't know, but anyway, I hadn't thought about that in a long time. This guy told me a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff I won't talk about or repeat. But he told me, just basically, he basically told me that all the stuff that I've talked about for so long has been 100% right, and they are destroying stuff over there. He told me about some, like a giant statue of Moses that they found in the middle of the desert that had Arabic writing on it. And I guess, intermingling those supposedly diametrically opposing forces, I don't know. I guess the knowledge of that was too much for everybody to wrap their minds around. So, according to this guy, they C4'd the motherfucker with explosives all around it, blew the son of a bitch to blitz. And, but but he said, yeah, absolutely. I mean, all the stuff, he said, absolutely all the stuff and he told me that they were actually like, they listened to me over there. Like that they listened to my show over there in the Middle East and stuff. And like a lot of the guys, the soldiers and stuff over there, he said like have talked about, you know, I can't believe this guy's got it so right, you know? So yeah, that's again, I'm not a fan of the L.A. Marzulli guy. I think he's got an agenda that overrides the truth. I think he'll only bring to light stuff and portray it in a way that backs up his specific agenda and his specific, you know, thesis he's working backwards from. But again, I once I heard the guy tell the story, there was just stuff that just mirrored what this guy had told me that I worked with when I'd had this conversation with him about the big boys. You know, again, I wasn't even thinking about John at that time. I didn't know anything about them finding ancient giants in the Middle East or anything. I didn't know anything about that, but I did know about super soldiers, and I think of that, a lot of that ties in, really, you know. But I think that's probably why there was some confusion there. Anyway, love to hear from you. globalrealityshow@gmail.com if you'd like to email me. Let's jump into our news here and see what we have. This is hilarious because everybody that I know has always known alt-right proclaims New Balance official shoes of white people after praise of Donald Trump. White supremacists have embraced New Balance sneakers as the official shoe of white people after one of the company's spokesmen praised President-elect Donald Trump's protectionist trade policies. And I heard liberals were like burning them and stuff. Dude, since time immemorial, I don't know why all of a sudden this has like been wiped from the common memory. And I don't think these white supremacists have checked into this. They should know this. Anything, you guys should know. If anybody should know this, you guys should know, because I've known this since I was young. Everybody knows that the Jews' favorite shoes are New Balance. They're even nicknamed Jew Balance. They're literally called that because and this is like an accepted thing. You could look it up. They've been called that for years. I remember I had a friend that used it world all the time. So you got the fucking Jew Balance on, huh? They've been called that forever. So maybe the white supremacists and the Jew haters should have double checked this. They should know that. If anybody, that's what I think is hilarious. And again, I think that points to the phoniness of all this and the control, because even people who don't, you know, necessarily hate Jews, I don't hate Jews, but I think that's fucking funny. They're called Jew Balance. I think it's fucking funny that people call New York Jew York. I think that's fucking hilarious. Doesn't mean I hate Jews or have it, just like, I still think it's fucking funny. You know, not everything is, you know, not everything that is right and moral is always, you know, not funny, but it's funny. I'm sorry, but it's even more funny that I just think this idea that, you know, these fucking white power motherfuckers, they ain't got fucking two brain cells to rub between them, are out getting ready to lace up their Jew Balance shoes, not knowing that's the preferred shoe of their, you know, supposed mortal enemies. Research, guys, research. Too busy cutting up the white sheets and you know, polishing the Grand Wizard's fucking brass cane and brass knob and shit. You know, you guys are too busy polishing each other's knobs to fucking realize that's the Jew shoe. Come on, everybody knows that. Where y'all been? So total fail on that one, guys. Sorry. Total and utter fail. Your research department needs to go back to the drawing board if you have one. And it was like one it wasn't even like the head of the company or anything else that even made those statements supporting Donald Trump. It was just like some spokesman from the company. That's all it took. Oh, they're the official shoe of white supremacy. I mean, this shit is comical. It really is comical, and it's also been very comical to sit back and watch I just sit back and watch how right I've been for so many years, and all the reasons why the phony truthers and the fakes out there have tried to basically ignore me and hope that I would go away, and try to make everybody think that I didn't know what I was talking about when I 100% knew what I was talking about. I've told you for years what this was going to be with Trump and all of this stuff. And now he's bringing in Frank Gaffney. We discussed Frank Gaffney in the first Secret Right film, 2009, as being a member of the Council for National Policy. And Trump's bringing him in now, as well as just a whole slew of Knights of Malta, Jesuits. I mean, the dude's got Knights of Malta members and Jesuits and CMPers and other establishment cronies. And he's talking about bringing in fucking Romney. That's real fucking, real revolutionary there, guys. Really, real anti-establishment old Romney is. I mean, you can't get any more establishment than fucking Mitt Romney. You just can't. And of course, they're going to continue to downplay it and continue to. It's hilarious. But, I mean, don't forget, all of this, as I've told you for years, this is all about the restructuring of the economic structure and the economic world power. Somebody else had commented on one of the videos that I made recently where I said, they don't want workers anymore. Essentially, they want obedient slaves and consumers. And the lady's like, well, if they don't want workers, then how are people going to consume and blah, 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 this, and, if they don't have jobs to... Well, that's where you're thinking about it completely wrong. That's where you're still thinking about it is in terms of the system's going to stay intact the way it is right now, the way it has been for quite some time. And that's not what we're moving towards. We're moving towards a complete redesign of the entire financial system as we have known it up to this point. Moving towards credit systems and stuff like that, where people get credit allotments and every citizen gets so much allotted to them each month and all the rest of this stuff. I mean, you've got to start looking at this and thinking about this stuff in the future as not being just a version of what you've known to this point. We're talking about the world monetary systems completely changing. This is what Trump's alliances with Russia are all about, and now with China. It's all about because essentially what they want to do is the same thing with like the Dakota Access Pipeline. A lot of the stuff off the Gulf of Mexico, the oil and stuff. Why do you think they started a few years ago finding these giant fucking prawns in the Gulf of Mexico right near where the big oil spill happened? Because there's secret pipelines that run from the Gulf of Mexico all the way to China. The Republicans have been selling American resources to China under the table for years and years and years. That's what all the fracking has been about. All of the natural gas fracking that's been going on in this country is not. Where do you think all that natural gas has been going? It hasn't been going to make heating and whatever else for Americans become cheaper. No, it's going out of this country. It's all going to China, and that's what this is about. Resource wars. I talked about and did videos and did shows on resource wars many, 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 many years ago, folks. And that's what this is about. Bringing Giuliani in. Giuliani has, he talks about make America great again. Giuliani has sold out this country to foreign interests more times than you can shake a fucking stick at. And if you don't believe me, then come here to where I live in Dallas and ask anybody who lives around here and ask about the tollways. Centra, the company that owns all those toll roads all around Dallas. I remember when Giuliani was here. Giuliani came here and brokered the deal with King Juan Carlos of Spain, who owns Centra. They did the whole deal here in Dallas to get people to give up public lands for these toll roads, to give these contracts to King Juan Carlos of Spain that they make fucking billions of dollars off of. Private owned roads, infrastructure that tax dollars has already paid for, being sold out to foreign entities to the highest bidder. That little microcosm of a thing that they did here in Dallas with the toll roads is what Giuliani with Trump is going to do. Because Trump is going to do the same thing he's always done in business, and that's always, that dude would sell his mother to the highest bidder. And that's what this is all about. And Putin is a great, he's a great He is Donald. He's the Donald Trump of Russia. I mean, he's the same thing. He was a fucking mobster, opportunist who rose to power because, mob rule. And that's exactly where we are here again. And that's one of the most important things in my film, The Spellcasters, is showing, starting with L. Ron Hubbard and Scientology and how these supposed safe houses where he was writing the other OT levels were fronts to pass information to Russia, to the KGB. And that's essentially what one of Scientology's roles was and still is they gain intel through auditing sessions that are supposed to be private, and then they sell that information to the highest bidder. So when you see the link to the KGB in Russia and the safe house of Scientology, then you see the links and the connections to Scientology and the Truth Movement and Alex Jones, and you see the connections to Alex Jones and Russia Today and how Russia Today has become, basically like the truther news outlet. And you see that Russia Today was owned and created by the former KGB. Then you see Trump and his alliances with Russia and the rest of this. Now you can finally see what's been going on, what they've been trying to do here. And they're trying to create these alliances that will give China and Russia want total exclusive dominance over world resources. They've been vying for this for quite some time, and this is what Donald Trump is going to provide for them. And this is why having all these old guard guys come in, Giuliani and Romney and, all the rest of these guys now, that's what this is all about. And it's at the end of the day, and people have, talked about, Donald Trump, well, he's not a politician. They act like the world that Donald Trump has existed in for all these years is somehow a completely different universe than the upper echelons of politics. Not only are they not different at all, they're essentially one and the same. As soon as you get to the upper echelons of the business world and the political world commingle seamlessly. So to sort of act like Donald Trump has not ever had any exposure to the political world, and this is, just because he's never held office doesn't mean that he has not done business and doesn't continue to do business that intersects and weaves seamlessly into the business and political world. You don't rise to power and you don't gain that sort of wealth unless you do that. That's just the bottom line. But again, they count on people being ignorant of this because your average everyday American has never seen that world, has never experienced that world, and isn't going to see that world. So it's easy for them to pull the wool over their eyes and just say, oh, well, he's just a regular everyday guy. And this, that, no. And of course, the bloodline thing that we talked about last week, that just seals the deal on that even further. Again, leaders are not elected, they're selected. Bottom line. Mysterious stone monument found in Kazakhstan is way bigger than Stonehenge. Well, that's a sensationalist title if I've ever heard one, isn't it? Archaeologists have unearthed a mammoth 1,500-year-old stone complex near the eastern shore of the Caspian Sea in Kazakhstan that is reminiscent of Stonehenge, but on a far grander scale. The series of stone slabs covers an area of around 300 acres, which is roughly equivalent to 200 American football fields. Stones range from 13 feet tall to 79 feet tall, and many of them are elaborately decorated with carvings of weapons or creatures. Details of who built the massive structure and what it might have been used for remains a mystery, but there are some clues. The site was first stumbled upon in 2010 when a man named F. Akhmadlan from a town called Akatau was using a metal detector. There he found parts of a silver saddle and other curious artifacts. which he brought back to archaeologists. Some stone slabs were found protruding from the ground, hinting at a larger structure. Most of the territory consists of sagebrush desert. They had no idea at first just how extensive the site would end up being. Artifacts found at the site suggest it might have been built by nomadic people, and the principal nomadic culture in the region during that time when it was constructed were the Huns. Whether the Huns were in fact the ones that constructed it is an open question at this point, but they're certainly the primary suspects. I don't think that... see, that's one of those little indicators. You hear something like that when someone's trying to convince you of something they don't really have proof of. They're associating that with the Huns, yet do we have any other examples that we can show of anything that the Huns ever constructed that resembled something like Stonehenge on that scale, even larger? Absolutely not. So what it indicates is that this is a completely other, separate race of people that were existing at the same time as the Huns that have been summarily erased from history, aka the Amorites, like we talk about in The Lost Secrets of Ancient America, Volume 1. And given the time and given what this is, and probably the alignments as well, these things all have alignments to the equinoxes and solstices. There's surely what that is, but they always want to get you to associate it with some, some known people or something. Well, that was probably Vikings. And usually that's one of their favorite ones. Anything that's ever found that's, too old or, it's just Vikings. Right. Always want to go for that simple explanation. I remember hearing about this. I don't know why this is being brought back up all of a sudden. It's kind of interesting, but I remember hearing about this a while back. Could be another indicator they are getting ready to launch the staged alien invasion scenario sometime soon. Did this astronaut warn of aliens before attempting suicide? A shocking video claims France's first female astronaut, screamed, "Earth must be warned," before she attempted suicide. Connie Hangary, 59, reportedly had to be restrained after yelling the eerie caution prior to falling into a coma from an overdose of sleeping pills. A 6-minute YouTube conspiracy film by UFO Mania has resurfaced this week examining her story. It's been viewed nearly 1 million times. In 1993, esteemed scientist Claudie was a backup crew member for the 1993 Mir Altair mission. Blah, 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 blah. It goes on. But essentially, yeah, she was on this mission. She saw something, and she went ape shit afterwards. And now they're kind of bringing this back up again. It kind of makes you wonder why. For white nationalists, Trump win is a dream come true, says alt-right leader from Dallas. I found this fascinating. So this guy who's supposedly like the self-proclaimed leader of the alt-right movement, Richard Spencer, is from Dallas. And I thought that was kind of interesting that that would be starting here. I've never heard of this guy. And then I also found out that the company that is doing the Standing Rock pipeline thing, the company that owns that and stuff, is based here in Dallas. Boy, I tell you, you guys see what the fuck I'm up against now living in this fucking place? Jesus Christ. Seriously. I mean, because I tell you this, they've never given me, you know how much attention local media has ever given me here in Dallas where I live? Zero. None. They'll do write-ups in like the local little rag, local papers. Every city has one, like the LA Weekly and shit like that. Ours is like the Dallas Observer. They'll do write-ups on like, little indie films that 5 people have seen. Yet, I can go on worldwide TV on Hollywood, the Conspiracy Files, it won't even get a mention. But anytime anybody else, so some little non-such nobody wipes their ass here, and it's like, oh, they put it in the paper, and they're, now you know what I'm up against here. Jesus Christ. Cops, hooker wanted nachos for sex act. An Ohio woman arrested in a prostitution sting told an undercover cop that her price for oral sex was $50 and a plate of nachos. That's that's a cheap date, I guess. I've spent more on dates before and got none. Problem is, this woman looks like a man. She's not attractive. She kind of looks like, what was that guy's name? He's dead. He's an actor. He was on that show Reno. I mean, she's got like a high and tight haircut. I mean, $50 and a plate of nachos for a knob slob. I don't know, man. She described herself as a BBW goddess. What does that mean? What does that mean? Big-breasted women? Big booty women? Big beautiful women. Okay. Wait a minute. It says she frequently advertises her escort services online, describing herself as a BBW goddess, big beautiful woman, who is, quote, thicker than a Snickers. Oh my God. I actually think I've got that one beat. I lived in this dirty ghetto ass. I mean, it was ghetto apartment when I was really young, 19, 20 years old or something. Oh no. That sucks. I should have remembered to cut off I should have deleted the other camera stuff. Sorry about that. All right, well, the show will continue right here. I guess if you're listening on YouTube or whatever, or watching the video, that'll be the end of it. But yeah, the camera just gave me the alert that it's full, so that'll be it for the video portion. I had this woman come. I was going to my apartment one time, man, and I had this woman. I've never had anybody solicit me for sex before. I've never since either, When I was walking through the parking lot, and I'm talking about, folks, I wish see, it sucks the camera shut off. You really should see me telling this story on camera. This is a big old black girl. Big. Not fat, not thick. Big Bertha. Yeah, big motherfucking Bertha. I'm like walking to the parking lot, I'm about to get on the concrete, walk to where the apartment was. And she steps right in front of me and stops. Stops me. And she's like, say. I'm like, yeah. Like, you like head? What the fuck? Do I like head? I'm looking around, looking for hidden cameras or something. Do I like head? I'm yeah, doesn't everybody? What the fuck kind of question is that? Do you like head? Yeah, well, there you go. Can I go, please? Yeah, I like head. Who doesn't? Next, I'm off. Say. Here we go again. Say. You got $5? Yeah, I got $5. Say. You want head for that $5? I'm like, no, I'm good actually. Yeah, I'm good. Thanks for the offer though. I had to think about it there for a minute. Quite tempting to put my pecker in a big old Bertha black mouth. Especially and have to pay $5 for it too. Well, that's mighty tempting, but I think I'm going to go 10 feet into my apartment where my girlfriend is and get it for free from Not a Bertha. So I walked inside. My girlfriend at the time was like, "You look freaked out." I'm like, "Yep, I'm freaked out." Proceeded to tell her about Bertha. Right about that time, I hear knock, 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 knock. Bertha's knocking on the door. Bertha does not give up that easy. My girlfriend at the time opens the door. She opens the door. As soon as she opens the door, Bertha says this. "Say, where that white boy at? Say, tell him to come talk to me for a minute." And she's like, "Excuse me? I don't think so." Slam. "Say, where that white boy at?" The fuck? She really wanted that $5. She really wanted to suck my little white pecker for $5 for some crack. And she was a crackhead, you could tell. Oh, and she had spandex on, and the spandex just enveloped her. It was like roll on top of roll. I've never seen anything like it. It was quite, it was quite the visual to see that, to see like when somebody has a fat roll and then their fat rolls have fat rolls and layers upon layers of, I mean, it was just like a never ending, it was like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, except black. Like if you you'd imagine what the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man looked like if you painted the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man black or he put on blackface. That's what this woman looked like. Imagine getting your knob slob from that and having to pay $5 for it. No thanks. So I guess times have changed. This big old white girl with a military high and tight haircut wants to slob your knob for $50 and a plate of nachos. I'm thinking more like a Nacho Bel Grande and 50 cents or something. Past that. I don't know. Holes is holes, I guess, but no thanks. Come on, get some standards. At least do it for $100 and some fajitas. $50 and some nachos. Come on. Are you soliciting Beavis and Butthead as your clientele or something? Yeah, we're going to get $50. We're going to get some nachos and then we're going to score. Shut up, Beavis. This is an interesting story. I've talked about her in the past on shows, and I've seen her in the news again recently. And that is the actress Shelley Duvall. And she's been in the news again recently because she made some statements, I guess, saying that Robin Williams isn't dead and that he's actually he's a shapeshifter. And you know what? Maybe he is. Maybe he is. We don't know that. But anyway, I've just noticed for quite some time that the media has gone out most of the time, and especially with liberal Hollywood media, they're usually all about trying to help people who have illnesses. And with Shelley Duvall, it's really seemed like they've been trying to exploit her and really paint her as crazy. And I have to tell you, I don't personally think that Shelley Duvall is, she probably has been driven crazy. I don't think she actually suffers from mental illness. I think she suffers from trauma from trauma-based mind control that she was subjected to during her time working with Stanley Kubrick on the film The Shining. And I believe, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that she was subjected to mind control by somebody during the filming of that film. And I think that she's quite aware of it. I actually met her one time. I'll tell the story here. This was at, interestingly enough, here's a strange synchronicity for you. This whole story's got strange synchronicities to it. The odd thing is, if you've seen the Spellcasters, and you've heard my story about the Alex Jones incident with the Thetan demon thing, that took place at this little old theater here in Dallas, the Lakewood Theater. I used to go there when I was a little bitty kid. My parents and stuff went there when they were kids. I had my screening for my first movie in 2007. I had it there at the Lakewood Theater. And this, I went to a screening once of The Shining there. This is back probably 2001, 2002, somewhere in there. It was, believe it was the Dallas Film Festival or something like that. And who was there in attendance at this screening but none other than Shelley Duvall. So I actually, I was hanging out there for a while, and after the crowds kind of dispersed a little bit, I actually got to talk to Shelley Duvall for a little bit. And being the Kubrick fan that I was, of course, I wanted to ask her something about, Kubrick or what have you, and so I got to talk to her. She was very nice, very sweet. She didn't give me the impression that she was crazy or out of her mind or anything like that. But I just said, can you just tell me something like, could you just anything you could tell me about Kubrick, like anything that you experienced, working with him that would just blow my mind? Is there anything, that you can remember or anything? And she, as soon as I said that, her whole face kind of went from smiling. It really was almost like you would see with somebody, what you would think about somebody being under mind control or being like hypnotized, like you snap your fingers and they're like, yes, master. They go into kind of the robot mode and you snap your fingers and they're out of it again. It was like that. It was like merely mentioning Kubrick, like snapped her in to this, like, I can't describe it other than her whole face changed. It was like she snapped into a whole totally different mode of being for a minute. And I said, is there anything you could tell me, that would blow my mind or something I probably don't know? And I've heard her since talk about this in interviews and talk about it. But at that time, she had not really talked about it a lot. But she told me, she said, yeah, she said, he was just, he was a maniac. He was just completely, almost like he was possessed. And she said, all those times when you see those scenes in The Shining, where you see me and I'm running and I'm crying and Jack's coming after me, and I'm bawling and I've got tears. She said, that was not me acting. I'm not that good of an actress. I could never act that good. She said, that was real, because Stanley Kubrick was between takes and standing next to me off the camera saying every nasty, sadistic thing you can imagine. You're a cunt. You're a filthy cunt. You're a whore. And fuck you. And you're a piece of shit. And I hate you. I'm going to kill you. And you're a fucking she just berating her in order to get her to cry like that, because he wanted it real. He didn't want her fake crying. He wanted her to be emotionally tortured for real, to the breaking point where it would cause her to actually literally have a psychotic mental breakdown on camera that would then give the illusion that was coming from this terror and fear of Jack, trying to hack her into pieces or something. And I had known, already even at that time, I knew about the Kubrick stuff. And I said, she was kind of walking away. And I said, after she told me that, because I only got to talk to her for a couple of minutes, but she was kind of walking away. And I said, yeah, Stanley definitely was in with some really powerful people, huh? And she whipped her head around to me and she said, you have no idea. You have no idea. And she walked away. So I walked away from that experience and when I'm meeting her, just feeling like, whoa. And stuff I've seen summarily since then, I think that, I think she's absolutely, all the stuff that you're starting to see recently now and her trying to portray her as crazy, it's probably because there's probably been some things that she has said that sounds crazy, but it's probably 100% the truth. And since her mind control programming has broken down from the years, it's been such a long, expansive time since she's had someone, with people who are under these mind control things, it's kind of like a muscle. If it's constantly being used, they can be kind of maintained. But if they use it and then it isn't used again for a long time, that's when you start to see the psychological stuff come out. So based on my, my experience with her and based on the stuff that I'd seen and just the stuff that I've kind of put together from being a Kubrick fan and researching this, and also my research into mind control and Scientology and the rest of this stuff that I've done with the spellcasters, I really started to see, okay, she definitely was under mind control by somebody, and judging from what she was telling me, it sounds like it may have been Kubrick. So his involvement with the CIA and with faking the moon landings and the rest of this stuff, it wouldn't be a surprise to learn that he had worked in that world. And then this article came out a couple of days ago. So, and you can imagine, because I already had the article, I was going to talk about Shelley Duvall, but then this comes out, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on to your hats here. A fundraising campaign to benefit Shelley Duvall has been launched by the daughter of the Shining director Stanley Kubrick after it was revealed earlier this week that Duvall is struggling with mental illness. Vivian Kubrick started the fundraising page on Friday, the same day that an interview with Duvall was slated to air on Dr. Phil. Okay, so Vivian Kubrick already knew this interview was going to air. So she already had knowledge of that. And she started this fundraising page the same day when it was slated to air. Showing your love and support for Shelley Duvall by making a donation can start her back onto the road of independence and perhaps back to health for her fans and for more superb performances. Boom. Who's the one leading this? Vivian Kubrick. If you've seen the Spellcasters, you know what I talk about with her in there. She is a Scientologist. She lives in Dallas. You know about the stuff with her and Alex Jones. And, of course, here's the thing. All Scientologists, whenever they do anything to help people who are, alcoholics or drug addicts or mental illness, anything that the fundraising efforts, they all go towards the help that they end up giving these particular people all comes from Scientology. You understand that, right? So that's what this is. And that's why Vivian Kubrick is stepping up to the plate. They want to raise money that will pay for treatments because, let's face it, if you're a Scientologist, you're not allowed to offer assistance to people who need it that isn't based in some sort of the science. Because Scientology has all their own. They have their own, their own AA, they have Narcanon, Al-Anon. They have all their own internal groups. So anytime anybody offers any help, that's what they do. They send them to these. And here it is. This just to me confirmed all the stuff with the mind control. They want to get her in there and reprogram her. And of course, they want to use Scientology to do it. And this is, of course, why Vivian Kubrick is stepping up to the plate, because those are probably the same people that did it in the first place. There's a comedian. Oh, what's that guy's name? Bill Burr. And Bill Burr tells this story. It's on YouTube. Type Bill Burr Scientology story. And Bill Burr tells this story about, I guess, first being in Hollywood or whatever, and somebody suggesting him, oh, you're going to take an acting class. Oh, well, go here. This is the best acting class or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You just have to hear him tell the story. It's better to hear him tell the story. But the long and the short of it is, he ended up going to this acting class that was totally ran by Scientologists. And they use it as a front to rope people in. And so this guy who suggests, oh, this is the great acting class, of course, that's what they do. He didn't tell them up front it was a Scientology acting class. But you can listen to him tell the story. But that's the same kind of thing here. If you ask somebody to suggest, do you, a acting class or whatever, and that person happens to be a Scientologist, they're only going to suggest to you one that's controlled by Scientology. Same thing here with the mental health issues with Shelley Duvall. This is, of course, why Vivian Kubrick is stepping up front. And again, after what Shelley Duvall told me when I met her and what I've seen and what I've found through my research, I absolutely believe beyond any shadow of a doubt that that's what's going on here. And I definitely got the impression that Shelley Duvall saw, I think she knows and she knew and was fully aware 100% of what Stanley Kubrick was doing with The Shining. And anybody would have that read the book The Shining and would have read that screenplay for that movie would have immediately known that this is not just someone taking artistic license and changing a movie to fit their specific vision of what they want the movie to be. This is something that is so far removed from the original work that it must have a completely different intent than the original work had, and that is, of course, what they did. So I think that she was fully aware of a lot of what was really going on, and for some reason it seemed they viewed her as the one that they thought would be, give them a problem. Because really, honestly, after that, I'm somebody who is a film buff. I love movies. I've always loved movies. I've seen stuff you probably never even heard of. And for the life of me, because Shelley Duvall was kind of, in the early 80s period, late 70s, early 80s, was kind of coming up. Remember, she had the high-profile olive oil gig with Robin Williams and Popeye. And, of course, now she says he's a shapeshifter who's not dead. Kind of interesting, though. How many roles can you name? How many roles can you name that Shelley Duvall did after The Shining? I'm going to go ahead and guess and say none unless you look it up. None. Nothing that you can think of. Always thought that was interesting. I think that, I think she definitely seems to be some sort of a threat or a worry to these people. That's why they're continuing to sort of stage manage any sort of statements or anything she says at all. Maybe she's not too far off from the truth, That's one thing I didn't talk about in the Spellcasters with the whole with the whole Thetan thing and with the Jones thing I experienced, and all these operating Thetans and this Thetan activation that Scientology does, and how these are actually demons. I didn't talk about how that relates to the whole David Icke reptilian shapeshifter thing, because that's 100% what that is. what has been described as people shape-shifting and reptilian shape-shifting is really the activation of the Thetan. And we have been sold and given this bullshit baloney stuff about reptilian shapeshifters to then cover up this real thing of the operating Thetans and the Thetan activation within the humans, and how this causes them to eventually totally take over and control that person, where that person may look and appear to be the same person they've always been, but they're completely and 100% controlled by an entity at that point. So the fact that she would bring up the whole shapeshifter thing, and then Stanley Kubrick's daughter from Scientology swoops in right after she makes these statements. Oh, we're going to get her some help. We're going to get her some help. Yes, I'll help raise money for it. I mean, that's got to set off red flags, folks. I mean, there's just no way there isn't something there. All right, well, we're going to leave it there, and we'll see you here next time for the show. TheGlobalReality.com is our website. We have got to reach our goal for the month here, folks, and pay our operating costs, so be sure and hit the operating costs budget fundraiser at our Facebook pages or at our website. Just please go and support our work in any way you can. We need your help, and it is Thanksgiving week, and we could use some support, and we haven't had much in this month, so please help us out in any way you can. My name's Josh Reeves. We'll see you next time. Take care.